Bobby G Pets. How to take care of big snakes.
Action. So here's a list of items that you're going to need if you're going to handle, if you're going to have big snakes or really any reptile. First, we have to have a source of heat. So we're going to a heat pad. Wyatt, can you please point out the heat pad for us? Thank you. That is the heat pad right there. All right, now to control that heat pad, if you just plug a heat pad into a wall, it can touch 150 degrees. That can burn your animal. So you have to control the heat. We don't want to go too much higher than 92 or 93 degrees. So you're gonna need a thermostat. Wyatt, where's the thermostat? Thank you. Hold that up here. Let's put that in front of the camera so they can see what we use. We use these all over the place. Perfect. Thank you. Put that down. Thermostat. Now, your big snakes are going to have heavy bodies. You have to keep them comfortable. You don't want to just put them on stuff that's too thin. And I don't like to use mulches and stuff for a couple different reasons. You never know if there's little bugs or whatever inside of it. Of course, you buy store-bought stuff. It's supposed to be baked, so you shouldn't have insect issues. But then you have a messy thing. So I get simple. Simple is good for me. So I like cardboard. I get lots of cardboard sent to my house in boxes, and we just break it down and we put layers and layers of cardboard so those big snakes to have a nice cushion to them. All right, lastly, I'm going to need, well, there's two more things. We need brown paper. The brown paper is to wrap the heat pad. I'm going to show that to you guys in a bit, but what will happen is your animal will lay on the heat pad, and then it's going to open up their bowels and make them bubble inside. They're going to want to pee and poop, and the brown paper just helps absorb it so it doesn't get too soaked onto your pad. These pads are solid rubber, so they don't get too many stains on them, but at the same time, it's a helpful barrier. And then lastly, you're going to need a heat lamp. The heat lamp is not something that you're going to use all the time, at least I don't, but it's more of a treat for the animals. Say I'm doing something where I'm going to be giving them a mist bath, and I'll show you my mister later. I recommend one of those too, but you're going to want to make it rain inside the cage for the animals every now and then so they have nice sheds. And then I like to put a heat lamp on top of them to help the water soak into their skin, and typically they're laying on the heat pad at the same time, and they're getting heat and mist on them, and you better believe the sheds that come off of them are one piece and beautiful. So, now we have the supplies that we need. Next, we are gonna go and work with the big animals. You might think to yourself, well, Matt, I'm never gonna have a giant snake. What's the point? Well, here's what happens. You are a loving reptile owner. You have good snakes, and they handle them. You show them to your friends, and they find out that you really are good at what you do. And then all of a sudden they come to you a year later and say, I have a coworker who wants to get rid of a large snake that they can't handle anymore. Do you know anyone that can give the animal a good home? The animal's 10 feet long, she's 10 years old, and you can imagine an animal that's 10 feet long needs a lot of space. The thing about snakes is, even though she's 10 foot, she doesn't need to have a 10 foot. Eventually, we'll get her something even bigger than this. But the 8 feet is plenty for them to stretch out, because when snakes stretch their bodies, they don't go in a straight line. Their body is always coiled. There is some kink in the spine. So, 10-foot snake doesn't lay 10 feet long. Now, over here is my Dumeral's boa. She's 18 years old. She's 8 feet long. And so once again, this is 8 feet. She is 8 foot. So when she lays down, she's more like 6 to 6.5 feet long. Sometimes as little as 5. And they also like to curl up like this. So there's lots of room. So space is a big deal when it comes to having a giant snake. If you don't have the ability to build or buy a large enclosure, don't get a big snake. As step one, gotta have it. even if you're going to have a snake species that's young, but one day is going to grow, what's the point of getting a big snake if you're never going to keep the animal, if you don't see yourself having something this large? So this is the reality. Take it in. You're going to need something this big in your house in order to take care of these snakes properly. So here's our thermostat setup. We have our thermostat. I have power coming into the set. I have my thermostat. You can see it says 92. It's fluctuating right now. Right now the power is off at the heat strip. When it drops below 91 degrees, it'll kick the power back on. The power will come back on here and provide the power to the heat pads. And Garrett, can you show us how the heat pads are wrapped in that brown paper? So we talked about our supplies. We had a heat pad in brown paper. We wrapped the pad in brown paper to make sure after they go to the bathroom on it, we can just throw it away. More sanitary reasons. And when you have these big snakes, you have to make sure they have plenty of water. So you can see they have 2 water bowls here. So you can see how 18 feet of snake, 110 pounds of boa, can fit into 8 foot by 4 foot very easily and very comfortably. The only reason these 2 snakes are housed together is they're both females. So they don't have any aggression. If you had one male in here, the male would have to be by itself. I tried to do this on a trial, and it's been great. And these animals are always together, always cuddling up. There's never any kind of aggression. And when I do see interaction with them, it's always calm and peaceful. And they do seem to give each other some companionship. It's pretty cool. So that is my hypomelanistic salmon red-tailed boa, Colombian boa, and my Dumeril's boa. This is South America, the red-tailed boa, and the Dumeril's boa is from Madagascar. Both these animals were born and raised in captivity. People often ask, what do you feed those big snakes? Well, we feed them very large rats. These rats are head to butt. They're about 1 foot long. They're probably about 10 inches right there. And there are bigger rats that we can buy. They've eaten bigger rats, but I think they maintain a healthier weight with these smaller ones. I feed them about once every 2 weeks to once every 3 weeks. And we want them to keep their nice big bodies, but at the same time, we don't want them to be overweight and crushing their bodies too much internally. So a healthy weight is always a good idea. Just because your snake can eat bigger food doesn't mean you should feed it bigger food. All right, so about twice a week, I like to give the big boas a bath. If you've seen some of my other videos, you've probably seen this already, but this is good for their scales, their skin. And they will soak in the mist. And the heat pads are down there. So you can see this snake is getting warm on her heat pad while the mist is on her. Same with this one, that's Spade. The snake's name is Storm. So there we go. And then what I do is I run this until the water gets kind of low and the mister stops, and then I'll fill it up again, maybe even again after that. And that way I know they got plenty of water vapor on them. And then I'll take that heat lamp that I showed you, and then I'll take 2 of them, and I'll run one on top of each snake. I'll just position it on the grate wherever the snake is and make sure I drive that light right into their scales, and they seem to really have a good life here. I think they're doing all right. Okay, so that's them. In closing, big snake ownership is a lot of fun. It's not for everyone. If someone asks you to take a reptile in, never feel obligated to do it. Only do it if you really feel like your time can actually do it, because just like any animal, these animals do need homes in the long run, not just to satisfy someone's short attention span for something new. They need a home, and they live a long time. So keep that in mind. You can always reach out to us. Maybe we can help you find a good home as well for an animal. But Yeah, if you have any questions, please keep us in mind. And we will be shooting more videos on how to care for our creatures. And I think there are plenty of big snakes out there that need homes, and people are interested in giving it to them. So, this is how you do it. If a big snake is in your future, or you think to yourself, I'd like to take on something large, this is a starting point. This is a basic setup, but it's functional. And beauty is great, but functional is all that really matters. All right, this is Matt with Bobby G Pets, signing out.